Yes, I
Hi,
do.
I'll still sit here, so I can see.
Okay, so basically what I want to do this evening is talk about two things. One is why is this important? And secondly is kind of what are the options available to you? So, I mean, those are the kind of standard services and things. What I thought to do is illustrate that with just some case studies actually from what we did up at Bignell Park Farms as to kind of what's actually meant for real businesses. So, one of the businesses up there, Max Design, they're a small architect's practice, one architect and it's a total of about sort of 6 people. So the situation he was in was he was first started talking to me about this probably perhaps a couple of years ago. It was starting to be a problem for him because file sizes were getting larger and larger. He was just about managing. More recently, he got to the stage where he was having to take files home with him to upload from home because his home internet connection was faster. And it was driven by, so there's the build, introduction of BIM, but more important in this case was actually sharing documents with builders, surveyors, all the other people involved in the kind of building process. And so this was getting to a point where essentially either something had to be done at that location or he needed to move, and that moved to a different location when his lease expired. So kind of introduced me to the kind of landlords, and that really kind of tapped into a concern that he'd got, which was, was he going to be able to re-let units when they became vacant? Did actually have a couple of units that had kind of fallen vacant, so there was a concern, as a worry there. So he was looking at the future value of his investment being substantially reduced, clearly, if he couldn't let the unit. So he took the decision that he'd actually invest some money in actually enabling, providing fast internet connection to that location. Another organisation on site is AD UK. They're a charity who help hearing impaired children, and so far they've actually had to bring children into their premises to help them, and they've also got another office in London. What this is enabling them to do is actually help children remotely by using Skype and other video conferencing solutions. So it's enabled them to help children really on a national basis rather than just bringing people into that sort of that local office. So really kind of transformational to them in terms of what they can do. On a more basic level, one of the other businesses on site, small business, about 5-6 people, really not kind of dependent day to day on the sort of internet, it's kind of not the core of their sort of service. But the situation they're in is they were just seeing increasing unreliability in the sort of the connection. And so it really got to the point where this would get in the way of actually being able to sort of pick up orders from their website, send emails, etc. And so they said, this just can't go on. And so it made sense for them to actually invest in this solution. And one of the things I did is sat down with them to look at how the costs all kind of worked out. And when they took into account the fact that they could actually deliver all their voice calls over this service as well, it actually meant that their net increase in cost was just a few pounds a month. So it was actually pretty sort of straightforward. It was quite challenging, as I think Phil will agree, to actually kind of get this in place. So if you looked at the end position, you've got a total of 11 units, and you think, oh, have a 100 megabit connection in there, divide that between them, the economics are actually very straightforward. The challenge is various companies have already got existing connections, so you've got the challenge of how you get from the existing position through to the end result. So it took a lot of discussions, a lot of negotiation, a lot of flexibility from STL to come up with a solution that actually has worked. But the significant benefit is the 2 empty units have actually now pretty well been let. And one of those was specifically on the back of actually having that fast connection. So from a landlord's perspective, there's actually a very kind of compelling business case. And looking kind of across Oxfordshire, there's an increasing number of locations that are actually implementing something like this. And so the ones that aren't are in real risk of actually being kind of left behind. Another sort of example, a charity I advised recently, they're currently based in the centre of Oxford, so they actually benefit from the BT Infinity product. It's a great product, they're taking advantage of it to move all their services to the cloud, absolutely delighted with it. However, the lease costs in central Oxford were pretty high, so that, the charity, they're looking to actually reduce those. They thought, okay, we'll move out into West Oxfordshire. They spent a lot of time looking around at various different locations, and they found some sort of offices it would otherwise do, but basically then it got sort of download speeds of kind of 2 or 3 megabits, and so those wouldn't do. In the end, we actually found down Park in Pension, they could actually get EFM, which is a low-cost Ethernet type product, and that actually, combined with putting their phone services over it, actually made the whole project viable. Otherwise, if they had to look at putting a individual lease line in, it would have actually blown away all the cost savings they've made on reducing the lease. So, moving on. So, just a kind of quick perspective, kind of personal perspective on sort of really this OCC project. So, my interpretation, it's fundamentally consumer focused. And actually, that's logical because consumers individually got small budgets, so you need some kind of mass solution for them. So, from an OCC perspective, it certainly makes sense to focus on that. However, because of the kind of the challenges in the sort of geography and addition to the infrastructure, etc., you end up with a sort of very patchy sort of coverage, which will leave large areas with 2 megabits or essentially unimproved. Also, again, from a personal perspective, the FTTH product is essentially more or less the kind of the last gasp of product delivered over copper. And so it's very difficult to see how that's going to be further enhanced. Now, there are some developments coming in prospect, but you can still argue about how viable those are. Whereas with a sort of fibre-based solution, Ethernet-based solution, then you get away from those kind of constraints. So the other issue in there is looking at end 2015 completion. So it depends where you really are as a business as to kind of, how kind of, whether that fits with where you're trying to go with your business. So moving on then, so the question is, okay, what are the kind of options? What can you do about it? So the first one, and I guess it probably doesn't apply to you because you actually maybe have to come here tonight, is decide it's not important. Next one, move premises to somewhere that has got a fast location, fast connection. You can wait and hope that the OCC plans will actually deliver what's required, and BT themselves will agree there's a degree of uncertainty when they actually get on the ground. The premises they will actually be able to connect, so the actual kind of reality will actually be different in various respects from the actual plan. So, looking at what kind of small businesses can do, landlords can do, groups of businesses. Essentially, it's a type of project that's sort of implemented Bignor Park Barnes, Waltham Farm, Cromarty Battle Barnes, etc. And that's really taking advantage of the essentially economies of scale you actually see on some lease lines. So the rule of thumb I use is a 100 megabit connection is only about twice as expensive as a 10 megabit connection. And so the gigabit connection is probably only about twice as expensive. So if you can actually bring that into a location and share that out, immediately the economics improves substantially from laying in individual connections. And the other thing we did at Bignor Park Barnes, which was a little different, is rather than just saying, okay, we're going to split this kind of 10 ways, give everybody 10 megabits, is we're giving them 10 megabits guaranteed, upload as well as download. But because most people's internet connections have low average usage, we're actually enabling them to burst to 100 megabits using any unused bandwidth. So what you've got is that sort of a hybrid between a 100 megabits contended connection and a 10 megabits guaranteed connection. So that gives you all the kind of guarantees you need with sort of voice, etc. It means that you're not going to get squeezed out by kids coming home or somebody running a large backup or something like that. So that's kind of model that actually delivers a very cost-effective service to kind of smallish businesses where the cost of a leased line is really unaffordable to them. I mean, this actually worked for a 4 or 5 person kind of consumer-oriented business with kind of relatively low margins. So it is a model that can work. As I said, getting from the beginning to the end can be sort of challenging and needs sort of facilitation through that process. The other thing is if you've got a very active community, is actually taking a community-based approach. as Matthew kind of talked about, and that very successful, delivers very high quality connections, very low speeds, something that's future-proof. But it's essentially a funding constrained model, so it does require significant investments to actually get there. Or at the top end, pay for an individual lease line. So there are lower cost options that are becoming available, but geographic availability can be so patchy. So I'd say the key thing when you're looking at these is, as well as actually getting kind of quotes from the sort of names that sort of even come to mind, such as BT, Virgin, TalkTalk, is actually also talk to somebody who actually uses one of these aggregator services, such as Fluidata, MDNX, etc., because they have access to the whole of the market, and you'll then be guaranteed that you've actually got the kind of best pricing available. Give you an example. A company I recently worked with on Milton Park. They brought me in because they wanted to do something about their internet connection, but they kind of done some initial research on it, and they were looking at pricing somewhere between £1,000 and £1,200 a month for a 10 megabit connection is what they'd initially been quoted. So I did some sort of research, talked to various providers, etc., and ultimately the kind of speeds there were the order, so the prices there for a 10 megabit connection were the order of £450 a month. So really substantial savings. Now, I'd say, to be fair, there's actually particular circumstances around sort of Milton Park that actually kind of drive that, but it shows, looking at that kind of whole of the market is certainly something you need to make sure you're doing, using somebody with an aggregator sort of basis to supply them is certainly a good way to actually quickly and cost effectively get access to that pricing. So that's all I've got to say. Any questions?